I am here at the Divertimenti and Daunt Books Culinary Salon for books, bloggers, and supper clubs, and very pleased to welcome James Ramsden to us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you blog, you have a supper club, and you've written several cookbooks. So, my first question is: do you sleep at night, or do you just, have about 15 minutes?
No, I sleep like a baby. I've never been actually that good at working in the evening, apart from cooking and eating. But my best work happens from sort of 7 in the morning till lunchtime. After lunch, everything slows down, which is quite a nice approach.
Absolutely.
So unless I'm cooking in the evening is quite sacred for eating and then sleeping. So
that sounds very civilized.
Yeah.
Now, you started the supper club in your flat, is that right? So, that seems like an incredible act of bravery on your part to invite people, strangers into your home.
Yeah, everyone says that. I've always thought that supper clubs are quite self-selecting, in that the kinds of people who want to come to a supper club are the kinds of people who you'd want to come to a supper club. So the only time we ever got people who didn't quite get it or weren't as friendly as you'd like, they were always someone who'd been brought by somebody else and hadn't been briefed and were just expecting to be at a restaurant and so expect restaurant service. But on the whole, it was really nice. I love having a flat full of strangers and feeding them and cocking an ear to what they're talking about, and it's really fun.
How would you describe the difference between going to a restaurant and a supper club? Because they are a different experience and a different kind of interaction between the guests and the hosts and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, well, I guess the fundamental difference for most supper clubs certainly is that you end up sitting with strangers, so it's a far more interactive experience than going to a restaurant, and I think that's what attracts a lot of people to a supper club. There's the homely aspect, which alas I've slightly lost because we're no longer doing it in the flat. It's still sort of got that personal element, and I'm there and my friends are there helping me, sweating away in the kitchen, and there's still that aspect. So I think it's a combination of those things, and it's the sort of, when it works, the sweet spot between a restaurant and a sort of home dinner party.
That sounds fabulous. And tell me about Do Ahead Dinners, because you've got, it has fantastic recipes, but also just great advice about how to do it, how to take some of the stress out of it, which is fantastic.
Well, I think cooking for friends can be the most wonderful thing to do, and it can be the most appalling thing in the world to do. And going to a friend's house for dinner, likewise. So, you go to someone's house for dinner and they thrust a peeler into your hand instead of a glass of wine, and you get sort of a recipe book shoved down your nose instead of a nice bowl of olives, and it's like, this isn't relaxing for me, this can't be relaxing for you, and it's kind of the antithesis of what entertaining, which I'm never quite sure about that word, should be. So the point of this book was to sort of make entertaining a really stress-free thing, even if you had a couple of hours in the morning where you had a bit of cooking and something was gone wrong, it's gone wrong earlier. So by 7 o'clock, everyone's turning up, you've got your problems out of the way, and you're ready to have a nice time, which is kind of the point, I think.
Absolutely. What's on in the future for you? You've done massive amounts, but I got to imagine that you have some projects and things that are in the works.
There are bits and pieces. There's another book next spring, which I think is top secret at the moment. I'm never quite sure if I can divulge, but I won't.
We won't ask.
But that's quite exciting. It's quite different to this, very different to this. What else is happening? I carry on doing my radio thing on Radio 1 every Sunday, which is a slightly odd little interlude in an otherwise quite sort of urban landscape of Radio 1, and then I get on and talk about food trends for a couple of minutes, and that's quite fun. And I guess the thing about modern food writing and people in 2013 like me trying to build this as a career and keep it going is that you've got to have lots of balls in the air to make it work, and as soon as you focus on one thing you can't lose control of something else, so it's overwhelming, but it's quite fun.
That sounds great. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it, and for helping to celebrate Divertimenti's 50th.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lovely to be here.